the entity.
No, it was
Pretty
not
sure.
called the entity. It wasn't a
Entity.
fucking
Pretty sure it was, bro.
backrooms. It was not a backrooms reference.
was.
But it was.
It did
It did have some stupid ass name,
It
and
was
he
just
was
like-
he peeked out from behind a mirror.
Pretty sure it was the entity.
The
I mean, how the fuck would I look this up?
And one of
Oh,
y'all.
Willy-
I don't know. Scam. Just look up like scam Willy Wonka, and it'll probably be the first thing that shows up.
Wait, what are you talking about? The
Willy Wonka.
The fucking the Willy Wonka.
Oh no, it's the unknown.
The unknown.
An
Yes.
evil chocolate maker who lives in the walls. Event had no chocolate. Kids were given a single jelly bean and a cup of lemonade.
As the organizer, how could you run that and not be like, this is what I am doing is horrific? It's like you can't be doing this.
And it was in Glasgow, Scotland.
makes sense. It's Scottish.
It's such a funny thing to do to little Polish children.
No, it's Scottish children, little bro.
Say
Oh yeah, you're right,
Polish
Glasgow.
retarded.
My bad, dude. I thought he said I thought he said Warsaw.
Glasgow.
They got a jelly bean. That's
One
better than the
jelly bean and a
movies.
cup of lemonade.
That's better than the movies, though, right? In the movies, if you wanted that cup of lemonade, Willy Wonka would fucking drown you for being greedy.
Mm-hmm. He'd blow you up.
Rightfully so.
He would blow you up to like fucking 20 feet
Can one of y'all
circumference.
go on my channel?
I'm just saying, if that had happened while I was in the chocolate factory, like, I'm not sure I could have controlled myself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Go, Saquon.
Probably would have raped you.
All right, man.
Where is-
Whatever.
It says you're live streaming, Leighton.
Okay, am I streaming?
Yeah.
The creature.
I'm listening to myself talk currently on your stream.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate it.
Wait a minute. I mean,
Like right here. I don't even know. Well, I had so much troubleshooting. I had to like sign in, sign back out. All right. Live stream offline. Live stream offline. Huh. The link don't work. Okay. Try going to. Y'all can't hear me. What the fuck? This happened last time. I don't get how this shit works. So y'all can't hear me. Hmm. Hmm. How do I end the stream? Okay. There we go. Okay, so let me share this one. I don't even know how this shit works. I don't stream often. Okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't stream often, so I don't know how it all works. I had to I couldn't even get the stream to work. I had to re-sign in to my YouTube account on OBS. And when it creates a live stream, it makes two of them. Like the same exact thing happened last year. It made a live stream that didn't work, but then I went live at the same time. So technically I had two live streams going on, and the original one was the one that didn't work. And so people were logging in. They're like, "Hey, I don't know if you know this. Your other stream doesn't work." We only have 3 people. We're not starting yet. We have to wait a little bit. We have 4. Probably start if we get to 10. If not, we'll probably start in a little bit. At least want a few people. I mean, obviously the stream will always be visible afterwards, so it's not the end of the world. Wait, so who is this? I really don't know. I don't know LMAO. Who is that? Which one of my coaches is that? Is it who is it? And we have five. See, I thought it was Kesta, but I know Kesta has a channel. I know Kesta has a channel that has Kesta's name on it. So is Kesta artificially inflating my rate, my views, with two accounts? So is there a delay on the stream? Okay. Hmm. It's not Brody. Um. Yeah, it's a bit of one. I didn't know because I didn't turn one on. I know it's not Brody. I don't know. Mm. 13 or 0. That's my guess. No, I'm thinking it's somebody who's kind of obscure. Somebody who doesn't talk a lot, like Cobalt maybe. It could be Nixie, but nah, I don't think it's Cobalt. I don't know. We'll probably start though. If other people join late, they can always rewatch it. Okay, so we have a handy dandy little slideshow. Because I'm not good with like graphics or video editing. But we have a slideshow. It does the job. So more people join, they join. If not, they can always watch the VODs. So we'll start SADL Season 2 award ceremony. Before we get into it, shout out to all my coaches. I really appreciate it. This wouldn't happen without you guys, obviously. Um, when I started this earlier this year, I didn't really know how it was going to go. And season one happened, and I somehow managed to get 11 people to join a draft league with me. And it was kind of crazy. I was like, that's crazy how that happens. Like, why would people do this? They're crazy. They're crazy. Um, but it happened, and then I was like, well, I did one season. Can I do another? And I did another, and even more people joined. So, huge shout out to y'all. It's something that I've enjoyed doing. Shout out to Jake this year doing. He made it. He did a lot of the doc stuff, pretty much all of the doc stuff. And without him, it wouldn't have been possible at all. It made my job a lot easier. I was very busy this year with a lot of stuff, and that was just one thing I didn't have to worry about because he was stepping up and doing that. Shout out to him as well. But yeah, we're gonna get on with the awards. Before we get into actually announcing the awards, we just have a quick look back at our Pokemon of the Week winners for each week and in every division. Had a lot of really crazy performances this year. We had like a few 6-0s, a few like crazy sweeps. We even had a joint Pokemon of the week from Indeedee and Pincurchin, both of the um, both of the terrain setters showed out for a week. Both had great weeks. Interestingly enough, for the second year in a row, this happened last year, no repeat winners. I also realized I misspelled Palafin as Paladin. I don't know if that was autocorrect or I just hit the wrong key because they're right next to each other. That's really cool. Paladin, um, new Pokemon. But yeah, no repeat winners, which is pretty cool. Even though we had some Pokemon that were really doing good this year, no repeat winners. So that's very interesting. Um, we'll start out with our first category. We'll be announcing winner. We're gonna. Last year we made the mistake of doing like most important awards to least important. Like MVP was the first award. I decided not to do it this year, and we're gonna do not necessarily least important to most important, but we're gonna be doing like some of the lesser awards. So we're gonna start off with the best pickup award for the Legacy division. Um, Basically which Pokemon that was picked up at some point during the season, whether it be a trade, free agent, or something like that, that had the most impact. Basically, just went off, maybe turned somebody's season around, and just had a huge amount of impact. And the winner for the Legacy division, actually, we'll talk a little bit about the contestants. Let's not jump too far into it. Right? Yeah, Roserade, picked up by the Norwich Neuverns, um, Scorpion's team. Roserade was like his best Pokemon like after he picked it up. I don't remember when he picked it up. It's like maybe like after I think week 3 or something like that. It's pretty early on. It's his best Pokemon. Pretty sure had the most kills of any Pokemon on his team. It's very impactful for his game. Yeah, Spidops picked up by the Dewey Duwats. Didn't come a lot. It was like a last like right at the trade deadline. But it had a lot of impact in the. I think came out like 2 matches. Had a pretty big impact in both of those matches. And we had Colossal picked up by the House and Mouse. Um, was picked up pretty early on. I want to say like week 2 or 3, and came to a lot of matches and was really well utilized by y'all. Some of these mons were Terra, Spidops, and Colossal were both Terra. Roserade was not, so obviously different levels of impact there. But the winner for best pickup in the SADL Season 2 Legacy Division is Colossal. Clap it up for Colossal and Yeehaw, coach of the House of Mouse. This mon right here, I mean, it came a lot. I personally voted for Roserade because I thought it was like as far as Pokemon that were picked up, it was the best. But I definitely could see the Colossal argument. Um, it was broad a lot. It was instrumental in a lot of Yeehaw's games, and I like the way that it was utilized. So shout out to Yeehaw for claiming an award this season with the Colossal. Um, Definitely a mon that they used well. I think personally. So moving on, the same category this time for the newcomer division. Also, y'all like my transitions, my PowerPoint transitions, right? Your boy is certified in Microsoft Office 2010. Believe it or not, I have a certification for that. So I do know what I'm doing. Best pickup for the newcomer division, though. Hisuian Quillfish, uh, picked up by the Flopping Feebas. This Pokemon was everywhere. Um, it was definitely a mon that 13th guy liked to use because he brought it in a lot of matches, and it did really, really well for them. They have Golden Go picked up by the Rillaboom Booms. This was swapped out for forgot which Pokemon it was. I was a little surprised that the swap happened, but it had an instant impact. I know Ollie really liked this mon, brought it in a lot, brought it in the playoffs a lot. I think brought it in every week after it was picked up. He ran like a very like defense like bulky recover set most times. It did really really well. It was like kind of a clutch, not clutch mon, like a crutch mon. That's what I'm trying to say. A crutch mon for him. So obviously very important to him. And then we have our Bronzong picked up by Evader when they took over the team that unfortunately Kobix had left. And this mon was something that they used a lot. It had like 2 really good weeks where it just absolutely popped off. Um, that was a great pickup. And then we have Screamtail picked up by Zazora, our Destroyer. They use Screamtail like pretty much every week, I think, after they picked it up. Did a lot of annoying stuff with it, like push passing, overall just being an annoying mon, brought hazards on and stuff like that. So it's something that they definitely utilized a lot. And so the winner for best pickup in the newcomer division was Golden Goat. I think this was a pretty close race. Not like no mons like ran away with this race. I don't have the results listed here, but I do know like some races were closer, some weren't. This is a fairly close race. I believe Golden Goat only won by 1 vote. So obviously, I think it was pretty close one too. I think like Extreme Quillfish is really impactful for 13th guy. Bronzong had some really good weeks. Screamtail was utilized a lot. So I do feel like all of these mons had a good argument for this best pickup slot. So shout out to Ali Bomb, Coach the Rolla Boom Booms, and their Golden Goat pickup. That definitely helped them a lot at the end of the season. Moving forward, we have our first coach award, most creative coach for the Legacy division. Wumples, coach of the Anchorage Bearticks, a guy that's always pushing the envelope, always innovating. A guy that he's always asking me for advice, but he's always cooking. He's always like, "Yo, I'm cooking right now. What you think?" And I'm like, "I think you might be cooking too much." But his cooking, works. Like he's had some really cool sets. He personally, beat me with a Demon View set. Then in that same game had like Terra, Water, Rabombi, and Scarf Coco. So like Scarf Physical Coco. So he had some really cool sets. We saw him like utilize mons like Vigoroth. Um, did a lot of different things with Jellison. Had some cool mons like that. Um, Even like his hard hitters, there were always something different, which is really cool to see. Bring different sets on Pokemon like that. Then we have Yeehaw, coach of the House of Mouse, also another coach that really pushed that envelope a lot. Brings a lot of different things, kind of quirky sets, and we saw like some water. What's the name? Oh, I forgot the name of the ability. Um, the floatzel ability that is not allowed to get burned. It's not Swift Swim. I forgot what the name of the ability was. Um, is it Water Veil? I think it's Water Veil. We saw him bring that, even though it was obviously like the natural answer to bring Swift Swim. So like we saw some like different things out of them as far as their choices. The colossal use was pretty interesting. We saw like Assault Vest Pelipper, other mons like that were just accidentally unplugged my headset. But we saw like the Assault Vest Pelipper. Um, Saw some different sets out of Landorus too. So definitely a very interesting creative coach. Kesta as well had some pretty cool sets. Like we saw a copycat Delphox, I believe, pretty early on. Like Scarf, Scissor, a lot of different Deoxys speed sets as well, which is obviously a very creative mod. So showing off their capabilities. And then myself, I didn't vote for myself. I didn't vote for myself, and I did not nominate myself either. But I guess a lot of people thought I was creative. I did have some fun sets, and I had like Parastrap Altaria. I had like Scarf, Booster Energy, Valiant to like be outspeed stuff like Halucha and with Unburden. A lot of different Altaria sets really was a big thing for me. Some bulkier sets on some mons, like had a especially defensive Glamora set. So I do think I was a little creative, not as creative as some of these guys though. And so our winner for most creative Legacy Division coach is Wumples, coach of the Anchorage Bearticks. I displayed their record as well as their team. I thought this was well deserved. I think Wumples is always cooking. He's the one I personally voted for as well. That Jellicent, that Vigoroth, a lot of creative things. Saw some creative Rabombi sets. Saw some creative Mew sets. Utilizing the Obama Snow in different ways. Sometimes really just more support, but sometimes also trying to sweep with it on the back end. A great guy, and a really creative mind. Had a great season, 6-4. Had a 6-game win streak, as you guys can see. So, had a phenomenal season, really, truthfully. Moving on to our most creative coach for the newcomer division, Ollie Baum, coach of the Roll Boom Booms. This another guy that kind of cooked a lot. We saw like some different sets from like Komodo, some different like Toro sets that were really cool. Believe we saw with the Cramorant set. We saw Cramorant come a few times and did different things each time. So definitely, a guy that was always in the kitchen, really and truthfully. And then Brody, coach of the Detroit Rev Rooms. combined the words coach and Detroit to create coach. Saw some really neat stuff. I know like we saw like can't think of the mod's name, Thwacky. We saw a few Thwacky sets that were really interesting. We saw like Terapagos come and do a few different things. We saw like, I believe it was Rabambi come a few times, had a few different sets. So definitely very creative. Petrunt had a few really creative sets as well. So definitely a few minds there that Bernie was utilizing a lot. I know that he would reach out to me sometimes and ask me some questions on his sets. I can see how creative he was. Kind of what he was changing and then doing fine. Coach of the Apple Mac Knackle Stacks. Um, Definitely very creative as well. Creative like Jirachi sets. Some really interesting um, Rampardo sets that also had a lot of use like later in the season that were being brought. Um, so definitely there. Trying to find innovative ways to use Pokemon like Dragapult and Ursaluna Blood Moon as well. So there's definitely a lot of creativity there. Definitely, I think an underrated one. Somebody that I nominated personally because I thought that they were doing phenomenal with a lot of their creativity. Had some stuff that caught my eye. But our winner for most creative coach of the newcomer division in SADL season 2 is Alibam, coach of the Rilla Boom Booms. Yeah, also like the Smeargle, some other mods I left out. Smeargle definitely also super creative. We even saw like Will-O-Wisp Darkrai. I just remember that off the top of my head. So yeah, a lot of creativity came out of him. I was definitely somebody I kept my eye on. This is almost a unanimous vote. I believe he got 10 votes, maybe 9 out of the 11 or how many votes were in the newcomer division? I think it was 11 votes in newcomer, and I believe he got 9 or 10 of them. So almost unanimous voting there. So a lot of people really respected his ingenuity, and I agree. Was definitely pushing the envelope most weeks. So shout out to Ollie. Had a phenomenal year as well. No spoilers, by the way. I have not posted any videos related to finals or anything like that, so I won't be talking about that. And obviously, this is mostly pertains to the regular season, anyways. So, just keep it on the DL. So, most creative set in the Legacy division. So, obviously, some of our most creative coaches had some of the most creative sets. Personally, my Paris Drop Altaria set was up here. I thought it was really cool. It was something I planned on using with Altaria at some point. It didn't do a lot of work the week it came. It did get like a kill, I think. So didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I think it was really cool in theory. It had a lot of potential against Kesta's team when I bought it. They have Acid Armor Jellicent. Wumple's obviously cooking this up, really just trying to be as annoying as possible with that Jellicent. We saw Whirlpool come on it a lot. Strength Sap and Will shenanigans as well. Just kind of using it to be a really annoying bulky mon, and so like Acid Armor obviously adds to that. And then we have Copycat Delphox, which is a really cool set that came out from Kesta. It was mainly used to copy Aurora Veil from Abomasnow, which is pretty cool. And that was really, really interesting set to bring, and it worked out. I believe Kesta did get the W that week. So shout out to Kesta for that. Really something really innovative. Like it's really, really just top shelf when it comes to draft that you're not even expecting to see in draft, really. And then it comes out and it puts in work. So that's obviously great. So our winner for most creative set though in the Legacy division is going to be Copycat Delphox. Yeah, definitely really cool. I think it's one of those sets like that just kind of pushes the envelope. It's like top shelf, like draft strat. Like it's not something you're going to see at all. Like it's very very uncommon to see this. So shout out to Kesta bringing this set is really cool. And everybody else obviously thought so. And then our most creative set for the newcomer division are Berry Cranberry, which I briefly mentioned a while ago. Mint to counter Ursaluna Blood Moon. Super cool set. I didn't even know this was an item in the game, so that's kind of when you know it's really, really cool. Special Tauros from week 10. This is also an Olibomb set. I don't think it did a whole lot that week, but it was really cool to see like this old school Tauros set from back in the days when Tauros was like, the best mod in the game. And we had Weakness Policy Stinisha, which was actually a set brought by XNR, coach of the Barcelona Volcaronas. It was a really cool set that almost had a huge sweep if it were not for a choke. But there's still a really cool set, a really cool idea that worked out mostly. So our winner for most creative set in the newcomer division, though, is Chalonberry Cramorant. I think this is kind of a brainer, at least for me. Um, you know, Alabama obviously run most creative coach, and this is kind of, I guess, if you saw this was kind of a spoiler to it. If you have a coach who has two nominations or two finalists for the for most creative set, they're obviously going to be considered the most creative coach or one of the most creative coaches. But like I said, I think this was a no-brainer for me personally because I didn't even know this item existed. Um, so like, yeah, kind of a no-brainer for me there when it came to this. Um, Moving forward, we have our most fraudulent Pokemon. This is a new category suggested by Jake, um, which just basically suggests the Pokemon that just underperformed. Basically the mon that just didn't live up to the hype. Maybe it was a tier 1 and it just didn't do well, or a Pokemon that had a specific role and it just couldn't fulfill that role as it needed to. We have some pretty obvious, I want to say, finalists or nominations from this. Tapu Koko was on Wumple's team, and it just didn't do a whole lot, even in terms of like terrain setting. It just most weeks it wasn't there. Just didn't have a huge impact in most of his games. He brought it a lot, but it just didn't show up there. Maybe we get a kill every once in a while. Definitely not, phenomenal Pokemon. Kind of one of the Pokemon I thought of, even as creative and great as a coach as Wumples was, just wasn't utilized that great. Spectrier brought by, which is part of the Minnesota Vikings, coached by Board Addict. This mon, it's kind of this hard for this mon to work sometimes because obviously normal types can be such a problem. But I do feel like the only thing that makes me like this mon a little bit more is that it's always a threat. So it's a mon that you have to plan heavily for, and sometimes it'll turn around and basically open you up to other situations, especially with the Pokemon like Megalopony on the team. So obviously, I think this picture was solid in some regards, even if it didn't perform the best. And then Aegislash from the House of Mouse. I personally nominated this mon when I did my nominations because I was like, that mon just did absolutely nothing all season. It's a tier 2, and we felt pretty strong about it being a tier 2 because it's a very versatile mon that can do a lot of things. But it just really underperformed, just didn't do a whole lot. Got a kill, like maybe a couple kills. And I just feel like, just didn't perform as well as you kind of would expect the tier 2 to do. And yeah, so those are our finalists and our winner for most fraudulent Pokemon. Probably the one award that you don't want to win for is Tapu Koko. Yeah, like I said, I personally voted for this because I was just like, wow, this mon did not do a lot. Like I said, even just because the fact that it has the built-in ability to use terrain, and Wumples had a team that could utilize terrain, and it just did nothing. Definitely was like, wow, that really kind of sucks. I'm not necessarily blaming Wumples either, but just sometimes like mons just don't work out. You find that you're not able to use them correctly, or even if you have them in a match where they do well, they just never like pop off, or like you win the match without them. That happens all the time, so it's not an uncommon thing to see. It's not really meant to be a slide at Wumples. Sometimes things just don't work out. And then our most fraudulent Pokemon for newcomer division, we have Gouging Fire of the Giratina Victory. Obviously, this mon was on a Sun team and was set up to be super successful, and had a few like decent matches here or there, but just overall wasn't that great. Just didn't get utilized really. Spectrier appearing again. This time was on two different teams and did nothing on either team. Part of this, I believe, though, was because it wasn't brought a lot, specifically on the Iron Hands fan club. I think it might have been brought like twice in the like 5 games that it was there. So definitely a little odd. I think maybe this is just sort of an underutilizing thing, more or less, than the Pokemon actually not succeeding. And then Sandy Shocks is this one actually was surprised they got this many selections. And I'm guessing personally, I guess people just felt like this mon just didn't do anything when it should have. It's kind of true. I haven't seen this mon do a whole lot. So maybe that is a little warranted. I was a little shocked to see it, but people voted for it. So it got into the finalist. But your winner for most fraudulent Pokemon. Also, before I actually announce this a winner, it is very interesting to see so many coaches who were have been nominated for creative coaches have mons that appeared in fraudulent. So something with creative coaches just not being able to utilize maybe higher tier Pokemon. I don't know, or just maybe not wanting to. Who knows? It's a very interesting pattern though. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have noticed. But your winner for most fraudulent Pokemon in the newcomer division is Spectrier. I did win this time. This is a very, very close race between Spectrier and Gouging Fire. Spectre just nudged out. Same thing actually with the last one. Coco and Spectre was also very close. So a lot of Spectre hate going around. I kind of understand why though. Like I said, it can be very difficult to utilize when it's so easily countered, but so strong, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Our next Pokemon, our next category is a tier specific to the Legacy Division because it was Nat Dex this year. That is our best Mega Pokemon. Um, Obviously, with megas being allowed in Nat Dex, we had most coaches drafted a mega, so we obviously had some really good megas this year. Mine personally, my Mega Scissor was phenomenal for me. It had some matches where it just absolutely went off. Was a great defensive centerpiece, but also a phenomenal offensive centerpiece that threatened a lot of different teams. Then we had Mega Lopunny, who was actually the kill leader in the Legacy division. Had a phenomenal season. Even if the Minnesota Glow Kings, didn't have the greatest season, missing playoffs, and they have Mega Latios of the Dewey Duats. Also another phenomenal mon that had, I think, was second and kills. Had some really good matches. Had like a 6-0 against me, obviously. So was also phenomenal this year. And I said it's a legacy only category because newcomer division didn't have megas. So your winner for best mega Pokemon was Mega Scissor. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Mega Scissor was really good. I think its combination of defensive and offensiveness kind of put it over the top, whereas Lopunny and Latios are more centered around just pure offense. I think that's why a lot of people liked it. I mean, I personally know it was a good mon. I voted for it, obviously. I feel like it did really strong. I think it had 13 kills too, so it did have like a decent amount of kills as well. It wasn't like it just uh, wasn't up there in that regard. But yeah, it was a big centerpiece of my team. I brought it a lot, brought it most weeks. It was kind of my 1-2 punch with Iron Valiant. So I know it was a really good mon for me. So, I'm not upset with with this nomination at all, or this win, should I say. So yeah. Then to sort of give the newcomer division something equivalent, we had best tier 1. So obviously, newcomer division not having megas, they got to vote on what they thought was the best tier 1 Pokemon. We had Iron Valiant, who had a phenomenal season, 18 kills, was the kill leader, went deathless for like the first like 8 weeks, I think, something like that. So had a phenomenal year. Um, then we have Terapagos of the Detroit Rooms, also really high in kills. I think it had 15 or something like that. Very instrumental, had a lot of utility. Rapid Spinner, one of the best rapid spinners in the game. Super versatile, can also run like defensive sets. So it was really cool to see it get some recognition. We had Zamazenta of the Esper Wings, also really good, fairly high kills. Was brought a lot. It's always a difficult mind to deal with. You don't want it to run away with potential iron defense, but then it can also like surprise you with really hard hitting band sets. So all 3 of these mods were really good. I thought these were great nominations, great finalists. And your winner for best tier 1 in the newcomer division in SADL season 2 is Iron Valiant. Not really surprised. I don't think this was unanimous, but it was very close. I think Iron Valiant had like 10 votes. Not surprised. It was the kill leader. Had a lot of great games. Was really strong overall throughout the season. So yeah, not like I said, not surprised if one at all made it. Obviously, I do think there were Tropicos and Zamazenta had their moments, which is why they made this list. But obviously, I think it's pretty obvious to see the Valiant on top. Moving forward, we have best tier 7. Obviously that's sort of the low tier in the draft. A lot of, I'll say throwaway mons, but mons that just aren't going to be that impactful. Mons you're not going to bring a lot. So you're really just kind of looking for whatever value you can find. We had some people really show up. I mean, Vigoroth, Wumple is super creative, innovative guy. Brought it a few times. It did really well. Super cool mon to use. I think it has a lot of potential. So, not surprised to see it here. Personally, I think something that I voted for. Raichu. This mon only came in one game. Didn't really do anything, to be honest, but it was cool that people nominated it, I guess. And then Camerupt, actually very interestingly, so this is supposed to be for playoffs, or not playoffs, regular season only. And people voted for Camerupt. And when I was making the finalist ballots, I completely forgot that Camerupt did not come a single week in the regular season. I believe it only came during playoffs. Might have come to one game and didn't do anything. So there's a good chance if Camerupt probably doesn't deserve to be on this list, but it was here anyways. Either way, though, the winner for best tier 7 Legacy Division was Vigoroth, who has a very ugly Scarlet and Violet sprite. I do not like that. Either way, this was no surprise. It was basically the only tier 7 that ever did anything this season. It straight up won a game. It was super cool. Definitely Wumples was pushing the envelope with this. So I think it's very far earned. Like I said, it was the mod that I voted for. I just thought it was, I thought, like I said, I think it was just the only tier 7 that really did anything. So, yeah. Moving forward to our best tier 7 from the newcomer division. We only had two Mons get nominated. So super easy. We had Ampharos from the flopping Feebas. This Mon came a few times, had a few really good weeks. And we had Cramorant, which also got brought a few times and had a really cool set like we saw earlier. So I think these are both worthy competitors. I feel like, at least in the eyes of these two coaches, tier 7s are a little bit more valuable because we had them come a few times. So obviously they had more impact than a lot of the legacy division tier 7s. And so your winner, very, very close in votes too. Your winner for best tier 7 in the newcomer division was actually Ampharos. I do believe it had more kills than Cramorant, even though Cramorant did have that really cool Chalanberry set. But yeah, Ampharos came like, I think three weeks or something like that. Got like a kill every week too, which is super cool, which is really nice to see. I think it even won a Pokemon of the Week as well. It's very well earned there, utilizing their tier 7s a lot better. Our best low tier, this is non-Terra, so basically a Mon that was a tier 5 or a tier 6 that was non-Terra. For the Legacy Division, we actually had 5 finalists. A lot of suggestions came through. Galarian Corsola from the Washington Wishmakers. Jake brought this Mon a decent amount of times, had a really big impact, utilizing it super well. Very tough Mon to break, especially when you use it correctly. Diancie from the Toronto Tyrantrums. Kesta used this Mon a few times, had some really cool, was ready out some Trick Room sets on it. Won them a few games, so definitely, really cool. Had a lot of value. Surprised it wasn't Terra. Diancie's a really good Terramon. We had Polytone from the New Jersey Jinx. This was sort of Brady's linchpin Mon. Had a rain team, so was bringing Polytone pretty much every week. So obviously very, very important to his strategy. And Mega Bombasnow from the Anchorage Beartics brought a lot. I think brought pretty much every week, using a lot of different sets, special sets, physical sets with like Swords Dance, Aurora Veil, different stuff like that. Very impactful as well to the strategy that Wumples was trying to use. Then we had Roserade from the Norwich Wyverns. Spoke a little bit about this earlier too. Super important, was like the strongest Mon on the team, had the most kills. So definitely like I feel like had a high impact for something that was a tier 5. And your winner for best low tier in the Legacy Division is Galarian Corsola. Not surprised. I feel like the other strong contender was mainly Politoed. Both of these Mons had a lot of impact on two coaches that had very good seasons. Galarian Corsola was super hard to break, was really good in like my matches against Jake as well. So not surprised to see it up here. Very annoying Mon. Gets a lot of cool stuff with like hazards, Will-O-Wisp. Super hard to kill. Gets like Strength Sap as well. So definitely well deserved in my opinion. for a anytime like a low tier has that much impact in matches, you really have to consider it. Our best low tier for newcomer division, we see Polytoad again. Simon Zoroark Destroyers. Waffle Kings uses Mon a lot. Had a bit of a weather team with Palafin, so it was allowing Palafin to be an abuser really strong. Water attacks obviously. Rand's cool, like stuff like Hypnosis and Encore, being very annoying essentially. um, I have Hisui and Quillfish. Obviously, this one was really strong. 13th guy used it a lot. Getting up hazards, intimidation, getting wish support for with a little Mola. Definitely a mon that carried him very far in this season. So, and definitely deserves some recognition for that. And then Talonflame from the Detroit Red Rooms came quite a few times. Had a few really, had like I think two or three really strong matches where it really showed out. Definitely innovative. Brody was using it very innovatively. I guess isn't that the word? I guess I don't know if that's the word or not, but um, definitely really cool to see it. Being a tier 5 and all. Not having it, Terra can obviously hurt it a little bit because it, likes to tear out of its really bad typing. But really cool to see it anyways thrive without being Terra. And your winner for best low tier non Terra and the newcomer division is Hisuian Quillfish. I wasn't surprised by this. I do think Polito did get a decent amount of votes, but yeah, Hisuian Quillfish was just really good. It had like a few really good weeks where it just was like super hard to kill. Hazards were really important to a lot of 13th guys' strategies. So not surprised at all to see this mod show up, especially with the wish support I got from Alola Mola. Obviously, a super important mod for them personally. I believe they utilized it super well, and it was something that they wanted to utilize a lot. So obviously, there we go. Then our Terra Captain of the Year. So this is obviously um, mainly tier 5 and 6s that were could Terra, and basically, the ones that had the most impact. We have a Jellicent from the Anchorage Beartics. Obviously, we spoke a lot about this earlier when we talked about Wumple's creativity. And Jellicent, yeah, I mean, it was, had a lot. I think it had like 11 kills or something, especially, which is cool for a defensive low tier mod, right? Having that many kills shows us how important it was for Wumples, how much impact it had in matches. Super defensive, but also being able to be super annoying and have an offensive impact with that many kills. Obviously, something that was relied upon a lot. And then Beartic, New Jersey Jinx. I think this had like one really strong week where I think it had like 5 kills. Very important for Brady's strategy with the weather, the double swift swim with Mega Swampert and Beartic. Terra Beartic is always super fun too. You can always do a lot of cool things with it. Terra Electric for the electric ice stab. Terra Ground for strong earthquakes. Terra Water for stab. Stab Aqua Jet. Terra Ice just to make your ice moves that much stronger. Obviously, it's a super strong Pokemon with that Terra type or terrestrialization. And then Jolteon from the Dewey Duwas. I think this mon came every week. It was super strong, especially being one of the fastest Pokemon in the game and the fastest Pokemon on Vortex's team. Came a lot, had some really strong weeks or had some really fun sets. Can run like Terra Ice for the Bolt Beam stab. Could run cool stuff like Terra Fairy as well. Could run like Terra Ghost for Shadow Ball. So really cool mon, very versatile as well. And was brought had a lot of impact. So our winner for Terra Captain of the Year from the Legacy Division is Jellicent. Not really surprised. I think Beartic did have a decent amount of kills too, but obviously 11 kills from a defensive Terramon defensive low tier Terramon is really cool. It shows how much impact it had and how much Wumples was really utilizing it and sort of relying on it throughout the season. So yeah, definitely got my vote, and I kind of just think it was a little obvious. Really, just really kind of stood out for the most part this season. So move forward to our Terra Captain of the Year for the newcomer division. Had some really cool mons in this division as well that really showed out. Tauros from the Rillaboom Booms had two really strong weeks. really showed out. Had a lot of fun Terra sets. Like we saw like a Terra Ghost set, which is really cool. Very strong, underrated mon that I think a lot of people just don't plan for. It was really cool to see Ollie utilize it that well. And they had Bronze on in the Iron Hands fan club. Had once again 2 really strong weeks. Was brought a lot of times, very impactful. Utilizing like Terra Fairy and stuff like that to make it that taking a mon that already has really good defensive typing, making it somewhat better or making it more versatile. Definitely shout out to that. And they have Glaceon from the Soaring Stingers. Was very surprised to see Terra Glaceon. But I think Zeros definitely went out of their way to make the mon work. We saw it brought a lot. It was a very important, defensive mon utilizing Wish a lot. Terra Water, obviously, really strong Terra type that was brought. I think we saw Terra Poison one time as well. So definitely, a mon that was being relied upon to do its job and did so very well. And your winner for Terra Captain of the Year for your newcomer division was Tauros. I voted for Bronzong personally. I feel like both of them were really good though in terms of their impact. Both of them had really crazy showings, really strong weeks where they dropped a bunch of kills. So it's really cool to see both of them get a lot of love. It's a pretty close race between the two. So shout outs to that. But yeah, pretty strong mon. Not upset with it winning at all. I definitely see why people would vote for it. Definitely had a lot of impact for Ali. Straight up won several weeks, like almost single handedly. Pretty creative mon too. That was utilized. So moving on, that was sort of our. I don't want to say I kind of like our superlatives, if that makes any sense, right? Like stuff like that. Kind of just like neat, goofy stuff, fraudulent mons, cool mons, creative sets, stuff like that. But we're gonna move on to like our sort of our main awards. These are like your game of the years, coach of the year, stuff like that. So your stuff that's really your high tier awards. I guess we kind of did that last. Yeah, Terra Captain of the Year. So I guess we're kind of already in that leg. So our game of the year, we had 4 games make it from the Legacy Division. Toronto Tyrantrums versus Anchorage Bearticks, which was week 3. I remember this match. It was pretty cool. This was the Copycat Delphox match. I believe it was Kesta's first win, too. So it was really cool as well. Definitely 2 coaches that were very creative going head-to-head. A lot of cool stuff. And then Chicago Taurus versus New Jersey Jinx, week 7. I don't remember if this was Brady's first loss. It might have been. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't quite remember. But obviously Brady was having a really good season, and then Tanner came along, handed him an L. This match came down to the wire. I believe it was literally the last mod. So obviously those are always super fun games when it just comes down to that last mod. And then Toronto Tyrantrums versus the House of Mouse, week 4. Another super close match. Came down, to the very end. 2 very creative coaches once again going at it. So those are always really cool to see. You're like to see 2 coaches that are not only playing well but are being very creative. And then last but not least, we have our Norwich Noivern versus Minnesota Glow Kings, week 6. I do believe this was actually Scorpion's first win. This also came down to last mon. Really close, basically. Had really good positioning from Scorpion to get Chin Pao in, I believe, to close out the match. So obviously that was really cool to obviously get that first win. It's always nice when somebody gets that. And, especially when it's a thriller, that's always really cool. So your winner for Game of the Year of the Legacy Division in SADL Season 2 is Scorpion versus Board Addict, Norwich Wyverns versus Minnesota Glow Kings. Put the little match scoreboard on the top as well as the, you can kind of see how the match went. Yeah, definitely a super close match. Really fun, interesting match. I think, Scorpion getting his first win is always cool. You love to see that, especially when it comes down to the wire like that. And moving on to our game of the year for the newcomer division, we have the Texas Claw Witches versus Flopping Feebass, week 4. I believe this was the infamous Dragon Dance Curum set that basically it had Sableye. I think it was double status Sableye with Dragon Dance Curum to secure the win. Super goofy match, but cool nonetheless. We had Detroit Red Wings versus Juggernaut Jirachi. A really cool match that happened very early in the season, week 2. I believe, if I'm thinking of this correctly, this was the Thwacky, the Terra Thwacky Last Stand. Really cool set that Brody had brought that week and managed to clutch out the win. So always interesting. That was always nice to see that, the creative set kind of clutching up. And then we have Zorarg's Destroyers versus Barcelona Volcaronas week 4. Um, this was I personally did not like this match because this was the infamous Sinisha choke match. But a down to the wire match between two good friends, people who know each other IRL. It's always really cool to see. Creative sets are coming out, really fun, interesting match. Even though I personally didn't like the result. But your winner for Game of the Year in the newcomer division was Texas Claw Witches versus Flopping Feebas. You can see the end result there with the Kiram Last Stand. Yeah, definitely a really interesting an interesting set to come out from the Kiram, as well as the double status Sableye helping secure that victory. So shout out to 13th guy for winning that match. Definitely kind of takes nerves to steel when you're getting down there at the end. You want to clutch up as good, as best possible essentially. So there we go. Then we're looking at our coach of the year for the legacy division. Obviously, myself. I say obviously, but there's me. I had a pretty good season, finished top 3. Definitely had some bumps in the road, but I think it was a good overall performance from us. Brady, who actually finished first in the division, had a phenomenal year. 8-2, had a really strong start to the season. I believe also had the highest differential. And then Jake, who had a great year as well, was playing super well. Beat me personally. I think finished 7-3 with a solid record or a solid differential, but was really really on fire. Had a lot of great games where you can just kind of see. I don't want to say, yeah, I guess you could say out coach. Like you just see basically like he was cooking. So your winner for coach of the year in the legacy division is Jake, coach of the Washington Wishmakers. Huge shout out to him. Obviously, we gave him a huge shout out at the beginning for all of his contributions to the league. But yeah, he had a phenomenal season. Huge kudos to him. I think he was just on another level. I think he was really disappointed with his performance in season 1, so he bounced back and went crazy. Um, was using a lot of different sets, even though his team kind of looks a little one track with the Psy Spam. Was using innovative sets, was using creative stuff, made some great changes to halfway through the season as well. So I think he had a phenomenal year. I'm glad he got that recognition. So huge shout out to Jake. Moving forward to our coach of the year for the newcomer division, ones and zeros. Coach uh, coach of the Soaring Stingers, sorry, was getting jumbled up. Finished first in the division, almost had an undefeated season, lost in the last game of the year, or season, not year, lost. Well, I guess technically it was the last game of the year, sort of, as the season wraps up here. But great season, really high differential, playing out of his mind. Had several weeks where he was just kind of coming in, steamrolling his opponents. So huge shout outs. Ollie Baum, coach of the Rillaboom Booms, obviously got nominated and won our most creative coach. So, I think a lot of people recognize that as, a guy who was pushing the envelope. Really good record this year. I believe it was 7-3. It was a very, very competitive top half for the newcomer division. So obviously 7-3 kind of gets you, I think it was 5th in the division. It's really competitive. And then Nixie, coach of the Esper Wings, phenomenal season. 8-2, I think had the highest differential in the league, in the division. I think it was like plus 30, something crazy like that. Showed out really strong several weeks, had some really cool sets as well. Surprised he didn't get a nomination for uh, most creative coach, because really and truthfully they did have a lot of creative sets. But either way, they get to get some recognition here with coach of the year. And so your winner for coach of the year from the newcomer division was Nixie, coach of the Esper Wings. I had a strong feeling it was going to be a close one between them and Zeros. Obviously, both of them had phenomenal years. They were both 1-2. Um, you know, Zeros had the better record. Nixie had the better differential. So obviously, there's that. And yeah, he played phenomenal. Great guy. I've talked to him a little bit. Had a phenomenal season. Had some cool sets. Definitely just a well organized team, in my opinion, as well. I believe I gave it a really high draft grade. So yeah, it's definitely up there. So shout out to Nixie. Came and did great this year and got that recognition. Then moving on to our sort of our individual Pokemon awards. Well, I say that like we haven't had any individual Pokemon awards, but basically our top recognitions, top honors for a lot of Pokemon. Starting off with our support Pokemon of the year. These are the Pokemon that obviously make the difference with their ability to set things like hazards, screens, weather, um, terrain, stuff like that. Politoed, not coach, Politoed, coach of the New Jersey Jinx. He got promoted, by the way. Brady quit. Politoed of the New Jersey Jinx was very central to Brady's play style. That rain support coming in heavy. Um, running stuff like Encore as well. They even had like Toxic one week, so definitely being utilized in that support role, being annoying, getting up weather, um, doing what it had to do. Screamtail from the House of Mouse, obviously, is a very support oriented Pokemon. Wish Passing, Thunder Wave, Stealth Rocks, just overall being annoying Mon to deal with, very hard to break. And Grimmsnarl from the Chicago Tours. Tanner loves this Mon. A lot of Thunderwave spam, using screens here and there to be very annoying, as well as like stuff like parting shots and pivot. Very, very strong Mon that Tanner likes to use and utilizes very well. And then Didi from the Washington Wishmakers. Not surprised by this. Came almost every week. Very, very strong psychic terrain support. Supporting Halucha, supporting Iron Crown, giving just making I would say making that team, because Jake is obviously super innovative and had some really cool sets outside of terrain. But obviously, when that terrain came into play, indeed he was basically the backbone of that idea, allowing Halucha to kind of sweep up in a lot of games. Then we have Deoxys Speed from the Toronto Tyrantrums. Obviously, Deoxys Speed is a super innovative Pokemon. Uses a lot of support sets with hazards. Some even screens came some weeks, which is really cool to see. So obviously being utilized in that capacity very well by Kesta. And so our winner for support Pokemon of the year in the Legacy Division is Politoed. Yeah, not surprised too much. It was, on the team that finished number one. So, being such a crucial part of a team that finished that high, it's going to get a lot of recognition. Very well deserved. It was a great mon. So yeah, and moving on to our support Pokemon of the year from the newcomer division, we have Alomomola from the Flopping Feebas. Yeah, a lot of wish support out of this mod, really making 13th Guy's team very hard to stop. So we do see that getting some recognition. Screamtail, once again, same thing as with the Legacy division, an annoying mod that was doing a lot of goofy stuff with like wish support and Thunder Wave and hazards. And then we see Politoed from Zora Destroyers as well. Um, and also, some of Legacy Division is super important to that team style of, supporting that Palafin. We saw Hypnosis Politoed come a lot, as well as some, Encore as well. So obviously, that core of that Screamtail Politoed Palafin was really something that, Waffle Kings was using a lot. And then we have Jirachi from the Apple Magnacle stacks. Super cool. That's mine. Got some recognition. Was using a lot of Trick Room support, but also like Thunder Wave and Hazards as well. Very well utilized by Doing Vine. Glad it got some recognition. And then we see Tyranitar from the Esperwing. Surprised this mod got votes, personally, because like obviously the sand support was there, but this mod was usually brought in a more offensive capacity. I do believe we saw like Stealth Rock knockoff sets sometimes, which is cool. But it did get some recognition there, which is obviously, it's nice. Tyranitar does some support stuff, so it's super cool. But your winner for support Pokemon of the year for the newcomer division is Alomomola. Yeah, a lot of wish support. Very annoying mon, super hard to break, making his teammates super hard to break. I think 13th Guy used this mon very well. I think he wanted to rely on it, and he did so. Takes a mon that's a little one-dimensional but gets a lot of value out of it, which is really cool to see. So moving on to our defensive Pokemon of the year from the Legacy Division, we have Ferrothorn from the New Jersey Jinx. Sort of a defensive backbone for Brady's team, was used pretty much every week. Obviously hazards, but also the Leech Seed and just being very hard to break, especially in rain. Really kind of depleting that fire weakness to where it's a little more manageable, and just being super annoying and a difficult thing that you have to dedicate some resources to taking down, especially like I said, that rain support. Galarian Corsola from the Washington Wishmakers, talked about this mod a little bit earlier. Yeah, super pivotal to what Jake wanted to do this season. Brought it a lot. Hazard support, but also using a lot of Strength Sap and Will-O-Wisp and stuff like that to wear down opponents. Was very hard to break. Me personally, I know how that mod was. Definitely not a mod you want. You want to play a lot because some teams are just going to do really well against even without the Terra. I'm glad it got its recognition. I think it was a really good mod this year. And then Clodsire from the Dewey Duat, sort of the defensive backbone for that team, came pretty much every week. Was needed to really slow down a lot of mods. Big form of hazard support as well. Very annoying mod. I know personally how good it is. I used it last season. It has some matchups which is going to be super phenomenal, and his weaknesses are just going to be hard to exploit. So it's really cool to see it show up. And your winner for Defensive Pokemon of the Year in the Legacy Division is Ferrothorn. Obviously, I just talked about this a lot. Super pivotal. I want to say pivotal to Brady's success. I think it was a mod that let's say a big defensive backbone. I've been using that word a lot, but it's definitely a mod that he brought a lot because it benefited his team, had really good synergy. So obviously super important for him. But we see it wins here. Then we have Defensive Pokemon of the Year from the Newcomer Division. 5 finalists. It's a lot of finalists again. Oh, Mola making this list again. Obviously super annoying defensively, as well as with that wish support. Not surprised to see it here. Galarian Weezing coming up from the Rolla Boom Booms. Definitely had it showing out. It's a very difficult mon to break in general. You really have to prep like a mon. It's one of those mons you have to prep something to take out. I'm sorry if you guys can hear my phone, by the way. And then Hisuian Quillfish, another flopping Feebas Pokemon, or member of the flopping Feebas. We talked about this mon earlier. Really, really good. The hazard support, but just in general, having that Intimidate with a really good defensive typing, very hard to wear down sometimes, especially with the Alola Mola support, like I said earlier. So super annoying mon that 13th guy was utilizing. Lucy Galarian Slow King from the Barcelona Volcaronas. Definitely came a lot, which sounds weird now that I just said that. Was brought a lot. Very good typing. Had a little bit of support. Utilizing chili reception to pivot. So very, very strong. And then Petrunt from the Detroit Red Rooms also was utilized a lot this season. Very versatile, very different uses too. We saw some different sets come out of Brody. So a lot of mons that were brought that were very important to their team's success. A lot of poison types. 4 of these Pokemon are poison types. I just realized that. And I believe there's one over here too. Jesus. 4 poison types. I just realized that. But your winner for Defensive Pokemon of the Year for the Newcomer Division is the only non-poison type, Alola Mola, claiming both Support Pokemon of the Year and Defensive Pokemon of the Year. I guess it was just that annoying. Like I said, it kind of enabled Hisuian Quillfish a lot of times because it was just able to heal it up. That wish into that slow flip turn, keeping Hisuian Quillfish super healthy, as well as itself, obviously, utilizing that regenerator. So super Jesus, dude, I don't know why I can't pronounce this word. Pivotal. I know the word. I don't know why I'm adding a whole extra syllable to it. Super pivotal to 13th guy's success. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. Maybe I'm just thinking too fast. Moving on to our offensive Pokemon of the year for the Legacy Division, Mega Lopunny of the Minnesota Glow Kings. Yeah, this mon was really good. There was a kill leader in the division. And it's sort of a mon that you don't have to do a lot with. Kind of run some more sets, fake out some U-turns, some close combat. Um, and, like I said, 16 kills, led the division, so obviously it's going to get some recognition here. Then Megalodios from the Dewey Duats, similar thing. 15 kills, second in the division, had like a 6-0, obviously. That's going to get a lot of recognition, super important to that team's success. And then yours truly with the Iron Valiant, my kill leader. I think it had 13 kills. Mon that brings a lot of offensive pressure. Obviously, we know what it does. There's nothing to say about these mons. They got a lot of kills. That's what to say about them. So versatile, a little bit of versatility too, which is really nice. I think obviously all these coaches were depending on these mons. I brought Valiant a lot. Obviously, most of these mons came every week. So your winner for offensive Pokemon in the Legacy Division was a Mega Lopunny. Obviously, the kill leader kind of is that odds-on favorite. It's sort of the most. It's kind of hard to look at a Pokemon that has the most kills and be like, oh, that wasn't the best offensive Pokemon. Well, it killed the most Pokemon, so there you go. Obviously. So yeah, I would say a shoe in, but it was a decently close race. I think Valiant and Latios had a decent amount of votes. But yeah, Megalopoly won it pretty decently. I think by like at least 2 votes, so it was a decent margin there. Big shout out to Board Addict for having a mon that you got an award, right? Your mon won something, so you're always happy. Moving on to offensive Pokemon of the year for the newcomer division, we have Iron Valiant was the kill leader. Obviously, super strong mon. Went deathless for a while too. We have Komo from the Rillaboom Booms. I believe this mon had like 2 or 3 really strong weeks. I think it finished with like 14, 15 kills, something like that. So it got its votes, obviously, was sort of a big offensive backbone for Ali Bomb in some weeks. And then we have Terapagos from the Detroit Revrooms, finishing the season off with, I believe, 15 kills. Was not always brought offensively, but, when it did, it obviously succeeded based on its kill count. And then Ogre Pond Cornerstone, also from the Detroit Revrooms, I believe also had 15 kills. So those 2 mons are sort of the offensive firepower for Brody. Obviously having a pretty good season for himself. So both of them very pivotal. Both of them find themselves on this list. Well, your winner for offensive Pokemon of the year for the newcomer division was Iron Valiant. Once again, same thing with Mega Lopunny. If it's the kill leader, it kind of has that going in his favor. This was actually the only unanimous vote of the entire ballot was offensive Pokemon of the year, Iron Valiant. Won all the votes, so obviously people really wanted it to win that. I understand why. It was it was that good. It was a really good mon. Not much to say about him. I had 18 kills. That's the most kills I believe in SADL history in a season, which obviously isn't like a lot. I've seen like obviously some mons pull off 20 kill seasons, but in other fantasy or if I say fantasy, other draft leagues. But yeah, huge year for Iron Valiant. Went deathless for a lot of it. So moving forward to our ultimate, the one y'all been waiting for, most valuable Pokemon, the Pokemon that had the most impact on the season, the mon that you were just like, yeah, this mon just means the most to this team. Our finalist for the Legacy Division was Mega Scissor. Like I said, I think it was the most important mon for me. Offensively, it was great. Defensively, it had a lot of use. Megalodios from the Dewey Duats. Really high kills on a playoff team is always going to get noticed. Having that much impact on a team that succeeded. And then Politoed, which I thought was a really cool. It was really cool that it got this many votes because obviously it was super impactful on a team that finished first, not just made playoffs but finished first. So obviously I think that was cool that it got that recognition because it was super pivotal. I said it right that time to Brady's season. And they got that recognition. with a finalist nod. So your winner for most valuable Pokemon of the SADL Season 2 Legacy Division was Mega Scizor. Yeah. Uh, I think it did great. Like I said, it was definitely it was my personal MVP for my team. And I think it was the mon that just had the most impact. Um, I brought it, like I said, most weeks. It's just really good defensively, obviously. But then, like, the fact that you always have this mon in the back that can just bullet punch tear through teams, especially frailer teams or teams that just don't have great checks to it. And you can always wear those checks down throughout the game. So then, Mega Scissor doesn't have to worry about them. I think the cool thing about this mon was I was like, was running sets and stuff and doing calcs. If you run max HP, max special defense on this mon, this Pokemon has 4 stats with over 300, which is insane. The fact that you can have a mon with over 300 HP, attack, defense, and special defense with only full investing in 2 stats is pretty nuts. It's a really, really good mon. I think it's great in draft, and it was something that I had to utilize a lot this season, and it came up clutch. It's my mascot, right? It's my mascot. We are the Baltimore Bullet Punches. We have the Mega Scissor on our mascot, or on our logo, right? So I drafted it for a reason. I love this mon, and I'm glad it had a great year. Um, so shout out to all the people who voted for it and thought that as well, because I personally did as well. Then moving on to our most valuable Pokemon for the newcomer division. This is our last category we're going to be looking at. So shout out to all my coaches who joined the stream. I'm glad you guys had a great season. Like I said, I owe you guys everything for making this season possible. So our first finalist was Iron Valiant. Obviously, it was the kill leader. It was the best mon on the best team, or well, at least the team that finished number 1. So obviously, it's going to get some recognition there. Had a great season. Was, like I said, deathless for a very long time. And we have Terapagos from the Detroit Revivrooms. Definitely was Brody's best Pokemon. I feel like obviously it's offensiveness, but also just the support support ability as well. Has Stealth Rocks, has Rapid Spin, so it's kind of this really cool mon. It's also has pretty good into a lot of ghost types with Dark Pulse and as coverage, so it doesn't have to worry about not being able to Rapid Spin into them. Really good mon, very pivotal. Said it right again. We're 2 for like 6 now. Pivotal to Birdie's team. So I think it's good some recognition. And we see Como. I was actually a little surprised to see this mon up here, but people wanted it. It obviously got nods for offensive Pokemon of the year. I really don't think overall it was that impactful to Ollie's success. I think Ollie is really a versatile guy who uses a lot of different mons, which is why he won most creative coach. But obviously the Como got a lot of kills. So, people want to recognize that. Sure. I know he brought it defensive some weeks too. It had some defensive sets. So that's really cool for Ali to use is, that defensive Como, sorry. I think it definitely was an impactful mon overall, even if it wasn't the most impactful mon. Your winner for most valuable Pokemon in the newcomer division, SADL Season 2, was Iron Valiant. Obviously, most kills in the league, most kills in the division, the best mon on the best team, or the best mon on the number 1 team. It's going to get that recognition, especially because, like, Nixie didn't have, like, a mon that really stood out. I think Zamazinta had the most kill on his team, but, Nixie was kind of a coach that was using a lot of different mons, so even though Nixie, won Coach of the Year and did have like a slightly better differential, I think that like the fact that he didn't have that one mon that was constantly just popping off every week was, kind of why he didn't have a finalist. But either way, those are your award winners. Pretty interesting. We had Iron Valiant win 3 awards. Mega Scissor won 2 awards. Mola won 2 awards. So we had a few mons that won multiple awards. We had a lot of mons that got nominated for a lot of awards, which is really cool. So obviously, shout out to all of my coaches. Y'all made this season possible. Shout out to all the coaches who won. Shout out to all the coaches who got nominations. You guys deserved it. I think it's really cool, like having this open where everybody's voting on it too. Obviously, all the votes were done by the coaches, so you're not just saying like, oh, this is something that's I feel strongly about, or maybe that Storm feels really strongly about, but this is how my peers feel about it, right? They voted on this. So, you guys are getting recognition from the people that you play and talk with all the time, in the league, the server. couldn't think of what I was trying to say. But yeah, shout out. This wraps up the majority of the season. Finals have obviously already been played, but we are going to. I'm going to have my reaction to them. I'm going to record that after this, actually, and then we'll move on with the season. And as far as plans for the end of the season, it'll be a while before we have something else come up. Um, Obviously, be a while before we have something else come up. Um, as far as our next plans go, season three, don't know when it'll be. It'll be a few weeks, or not say a few weeks, a few months. But we'll obviously be talking about that more. Keep you guys updated. I have some plans for some stuff we might do in the off season. Maybe a free for all tournament. I thought that would be really cool for us to do. Maybe have another speed draft tournament. We'll see though. Maybe just something kind of quick and easy to organize. Something that'll only last like maybe a week or so, or at the most maybe 2 weeks. Just so that way we can have some stuff to be keep people engaged. Last time I didn't do a whole lot between seasons. I had like a speed draft right before season two started. I didn't even make any YouTube content, so plan on doing some of that stuff. Um, but yeah, shout out my coaches. You guys made it possible. Um, and I hope you guys had a great season, had a lot of fun. I'll probably have like some little engagement survey or something that I'll put out just to hear your guys' feedback. I've already gotten a little bit of feedback from some coaches, so I'll definitely put that out. And we'll talk more about the future when it gets there. But yeah, hell yeah, I appreciate you guys, and thank you guys that did come out. It means a lot. So see you guys later. Oh yeah, the Roselli Acropult. That was a cool set. I forgot about that set. It's a shame it didn't do anything. I actually forgot that. That was actually a fire set. But I'm pumped. Hey. Oh yeah. Guess I'll end the stream then. Shout out to you guys for coming out. I appreciate it.